All right, so starting out where we left off last time, we are currently in the middle of nowhere, but I got a lot of very nice comments, and I just wanted to say thank you for all those comments. And I will continue to make the best videos I can, but hopefully we can grow this community into something where you guys can, just chill, relax, and I'll try to make the best content possible, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But for now, we got to make a bed so we don't get killed immediately. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to make sure to look at them, and maybe I'll even make a video about it. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for all the nice comments in the last video. I did read through all of them, and I'll try to continue doing that. But it might get a bit more difficult as work and stuff picks up. Anyway, let's get to the topic of this video. I wanted to talk about this idea of continuously getting better. A lot of people these days, and I feel like it's been popular a lot more, especially in the men's space, is this idea of self-improvement and more importantly, just continually improving yourself. Now, on paper, this sounds really good, right? Like, obviously, getting better at, whatever you do, it's a good endeavor to have. But I think what ends up happening is that you get stuck in basically following someone else's dream. And the reason I think that is because a lot of the time we don't really reflect what we want. What we do think instead is what do other people want from us? Now, that could be, your parents, it could be your friends, it could be, people that are close to you. But that ends up being really, really bad because well, obviously, we don't want to have other people's opinions dictating what we pursue. And this is especially the case, I think, for younger men, because there's so little role models. And what ends up happening is that they just find like the first person that looks semi okay, and they just basically steal all of their ideas and what they consider successful, and not actually what, is actually success, which is just being happy with yourself. And if you want to go more into like how happiness is defined, I think the last video does a much better job than I will probably do in this video. But for now, I think the best thing to do is to actually reflect on what you want as an individual, because it's a lot different than you might think. Just because a lot of times I just feel the people end up just doing basically what they think is socially acceptable. And that ends up not being what they actually want. So you got to be careful with that. And you got to make sure that you're actually doing what you actually want to do. And it might seem like I'm rambling a bit, but I think that really means you gotta journal. You gotta write this stuff down. It's not something that you can just, put on technology and take some notes and just magically get the answer. I think it's a much more slow and almost like wholesome process, if you will. Um, but I think that if you can get yourself to do that, I think you will be in a lot better of a position than most people your age, especially younger people. And that goes the same for, I think, college and a lot of these other things. I'm not saying college is necessarily bad, and I think this idea that, oh, just don't really focus on school and focus on your own dreams is bit short-sighted because the reality is, most people won't become a successful YouTuber or a successful social media star or athlete or whatever. So it is important to be a bit more realistic. However, it is also important to chase your dreams, and the issue is that most people think it's like a binary choice. When in reality, most of the successful people you see, they ended up doing like whatever that they wanted to do as a side hustle, not actually the main hustle. It's only a couple of like freaks of nature that basically just did it all in one go. And that becomes really dangerous because you think that you need to do everything in one go, and obviously that is not the case, right? You can take your time. You do not need to just do everything in one go. And that's the kind of reality that most people just won't tell you. So it's kind of up to you to basically figure that out and figure out what you actually want to do. and what you want your life to amount to. And that comes from no one but yourself. Like genuinely, it's not up to anyone other than you. So that's your own personal it should be your mission, honestly. Just figuring out what you want to do. And the only real way I think that you can go about that is by literally just trying stuff. Try things that you might never have tried before. And just, make it your own, basically. Right? Like a lot of people will say, oh, like get like become like a digital nomad and travel the world and then you'll be free. But like the reality is that's not necessarily the case, right? Because okay, let's assume that you do that. Most of the time, like when you don't seize a lot of these people that are online and like propose the digital lifestyle, their life is miserable because they have to stay on call 24/7 just in case, one of their clients or something calls. And that is a reality that they just have to face. And it's unfortunate, but it's just, I guess like how the cookie crumbles. And instead, what they do is they sell courses to you and basically try to get you to buy into this idea that it's the dream, right? And then they sell you this course on why they're the most successful and you need to follow in their footsteps. But obviously, we know that's not true because there can't only be one one way to success. I do think it is very, very personal, right? Like it's definitely not the same for everyone. And it's important to recognize that fact. So yeah, it's really up to you of how you wanna go about that. Now, I think the way you can actually figure out what you want to do is by asking yourself a very simple question. Simply ask yourself just like what would you do if money was already solved, right? If like, you've already traveled the world for 10 years, like getting out like all those useless stuff out of the way in the beginning and like really focusing on the more important things. So like if all your family members were taken care of, you already traveled the world, you already did all this other stuff, then like what would you do, you know? If you can figure out that, I think that would be a much better metric than any other thing. So, yeah, I think that should be like your main goal basically of figuring out like what that could be. And if you can solve that, I would say is try to optimize your life to do mostly that. And it's not bad to have backup plans. I know a lot of people say like nowadays online that oh like college is useless as a backup plan because you're paying like what is it, $200,000 for 4 years. But in the grand scheme of things, think about the alternative, right? You go for your dream, you don't make it and you end up in a life of poverty for the next 30 years. Is 200,000 really that bad of a deal? Like, would you not risk that if it meant that you wouldn't live a life of poverty and you'd at least have like a basic job, right? No one's saying that it's going to be the greatest thing ever, but it's definitely better than nothing. And like that's just the truth. And if that like annoys people, then so be it. But I do think that it's not as simple as just dropping everything and trying to go all in on some sort of business. This actual this pursuit of like getting better, it's only good insofar as you're able to stop and actually appreciate like what you've gotten. Because sure, it's great that you like all this stuff and you're quote unquote getting better every day, but the sad reality is that most people they either get bored of it and they're not able to appreciate it, or they continuously only focus on the negatives. It's really important to have that positive outlook on life, not because, it makes you better or whatever, like that manifestation, positive thinking stuff. I agree, doesn't just like automatically make your life better, but what it does do is it makes it more tolerable. It makes like the grind almost it makes it fun, right? It makes you want to wake up in the morning and go do your work instead of you basically regretting it and never wanting to do it. So, I don't know about you, but I feel like that is infinitely more important and better than anything else. So that seems like something that is good to optimize for. And good to optimize for basically being content in your life rather than having, for example, the 10% extra muscle, right? It's so much better to just be able to try new things, right? It's way better to just be able to enjoy that in comparison to the rest of the things. And that, I think, will give you much more happiness than focusing simply on, the more mundane, just everyday grinding. And to be fair, you do need some of those. You can't just, be just continually always just happy go lucky and not work. Like there are going to be those hard days, but it doesn't mean that that's all there is. That's all I'm saying, right? You have to have like a balance of both. You can't just have one or the other. So that's, I think, the main thing. The other thing is you have to be willing to kind of like odd to your friends, right? Especially when you're in this pursuit of getting better, because there's two types of people. Ones that will mock you for trying to get better, which is absolute stupidity because like that just doesn't make any sense, right? Like if you're trying to get better and someone mocks you for it, they aren't really your friend. Like y- they should be like very supportive of things that actually matter. Now they might poke fun of you, but there's a big difference between that and like actually just mocking you. So it's important to have that good group of friends and that good group of people around you so you can kind of enjoy you know, the grind, the process, and meet amazing people along the way. That's one thing I'll say. Like once you get to this more like wholesome side, it's just the quality of people you meet is just vastly, vastly better. The other big thing I think is that it's not important about just getting as many friends as possible. Like I'd much rather actually, enjoy every moment I have comparatively to, you know, not doing that. So that I think is much more important to me. And oops, the recording might have blocked out there for a bit. But yeah, I think that's the most important thing. So like key takeaways are just like enjoy what you have and enjoy, what's happening. But hopefully you can do that. And yeah, I hope you take your life a little bit more in a positive spirit and enjoy the process and pat yourself on the back for how far you've come. I think anyone that's watching this type of video, maybe just chilling, maybe they're just eating, just, be happy with where you've gotten and be proud of what you've done.